Anyway, let's talk about Alex Jones. So, Alex Jones is still in trouble, constantly in trouble, always in trouble with the media and the court system and with anybody who isn't a consistent Alex Jones viewer, to be perfectly honest. He's very, very entertaining, but this is related to the Sandy Hook school shootings, which he reported on back in the day. He stopped reporting on them for a long time. Now, I do not personally have any reason to believe that Sandy Hook was anything other than a tragic school shooting, as was reported by the media at the time. And I didn't watch Alex Jones' coverage at the time either, so I can't say explicitly what it was he said about it, other than that I have seen one or two clips that do seem to show him saying outright that it was a false flag where it was all crisis actors and no children actually died in it. He has since then come out and said that he maintains that at the time, his coverage, that he was covering other people's reporting on it and what other people were saying about it, and that included the conspiracy angle of it. And since then, he has come out, shook hands with some of the parents of the children who died, and said that he believes that it was real. He knows that it was real now. Since then, people are still trying to make it sound as though he's continually saying that the whole thing was fake, because he has said that the media coverage, the smear jobs, and the legal action that's been taken against him since then is so obviously overblown, so obviously vindictive, not just for the sake of settling defamation against him, but to try and put him out of business, that the whole thing stinks of the deep state, according to him, and also he says it's synthetic. People take those quotes out of context and try and make it sound like he's still saying the whole thing was a fake. That's not what he's saying anymore, but I can't speak to what he was saying in the past.
So I have a couple of things to say here. First and foremost, I think that what he said should be covered under the First Amendment. It was an event that was of national concern. It was an event that will inform political policy. And if you start punishing people with potentially ridiculous sums of money for talking about these things, then you stifle national debate and you weaken your country. And that's something I'm not willing to flinch on. I mean, even if, you know, the thing was genuine, it would be distasteful, it would be insensitive, it would be kicking the parents when they were down, which I wouldn't approve of. But I fully support people's right to say these sorts of things, even if they're not, you know, if you can't have distasteful speech, then you can't have any speech at all, because everything is distasteful to someone. And this is, I think, obviously a show trial. Is to say, look, you can't say anything that the state doesn't approve of. We're going to destroy this man to make an example to the rest of you. And I think it's vile. I think it's disgusting. Yeah. And I think that obviously people are out for blood and money.
And also, to speak of the government reaction to it, he is absolutely right that the government in America, especially the more democratic governments, as it was at the time, it was Obama's government, his administration, do take advantage of situations like this to try and push for more gun control. And if you're going to talk about how Alex Jones was distasteful, kicking the parents when they're down, of course you could make the same argument about the government taking a situation like that and using it for political purposes to try and push their own agenda. You want to talk about dancing on the graves of children, the government does that whenever anything like this happens. You can't convince me that there isn't a part of the US administration and the US deep state that isn't on some level happy, at least for media purposes, when something like this happens. I mean, come on.
It's the principle of never let a good crisis go to waste, isn't it?
Exactly. Again, what's going on is defamation. The suits that have been put forward against him have been for defamation. The Sandy Hook families claim that because of the conspiracies that he was spreading back when it happened, that led to harassment, death threats, rape threats from random strangers who recognize them from the news coverage and threaten them on the street. What I would say, because I agree with you that it needs to be something that's protected under the First Amendment, especially when really at the root of what Jones was saying was a criticism of the government and the tactics that they used to try and pass legislation, is if anybody needed to have legal charges brought against them, it was the people harassing those families. Well, because of course that's disgusting.
Yeah, well, Alex Jones isn't responsible for the actions of other people.
No.
Alex Jones is responsible for the actions of Alex Jones and no one else.
And you can be critical of him for that, but it's so clearly just been a political persecution ever since then of what's going on. And that's why you can tell, just because of the fact that you can see in reports like this from when the trial was still going on, the 22nd of October 2022, in fact, the trial wasn't even really a trial, because the court said that he hadn't been able to put in the proper documents and hadn't given them the proper documents. So they only brought a jury in because they wanted to settle the amount of money that should already been given. So the trial was a show trial, because the judge already told them, well, deliberate like you already know he's guilty. How much money should we give these people?
And you don't need to be a psychologist to know that if you frame something in that way, the natural human inclination is to be like, well, he's guilty then, isn't he?
And what else are you supposed to say when you've
then
been
what's the
told
point in the trial?
Guilty? Exactly. And this is meme numbers being thrown. This is a report from The Independent. Sandy Hook families want Alex Jones to pay up to $2.75 trillion.
Did it wrong. You need to... $2.75 trillion.
Yes, thank you very much.
Sorry. Obligatory Austin Powers.
That's all right. I've got to say, your Dr. Evil needs work. But thank you anyway.
Too much hair.
So that's a meme number. Realistically, at the time in 2022, I think that was slightly more than the GDP of all of Africa. So they were asking as an upper limit. To be clear, this was an upper limit. So it was the plaintiff's filings. They said one calculation among many was $2.75 trillion. So they're asking him to hand Africa.
Give me Africa. Why are they supportive of colonialism? This is terrible.
I know, it's terrible. This is horribly racist. But this figure was reached by multiplying the state's law up to $5,000 per violation fine by the 550 million social media exposures Jones's audience received on his Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter accounts over 3 years after the school shooting. During the trial, as I mentioned, the victim's relatives said that in testimony they were threatened and harassed for years by people who believed the lies told on Jones's show. Now, of course, that's terrible. That's terrible. No innocent person, especially after you've experienced the tragedy, should experience something like that on top of it. But again, the people you should be going after, if you haven't already, are the people who harassed you, are the people who threatened you, not the guy who made some absurd claims back in the day and has now taken all of that back and was explicit saying, do not harass these people. And then as a result of this, because the figure that it was brought down to, because I think it was 2 trials at the same time, one in Connecticut where the shooting took place, and then one in Texas where family members were as well, the number that they settled on between those two was about $1.5 billion.
Which is absurd.
$1.5 billion. Just throw that out there. $1 billion, okay? And they said that he filed for bankruptcy following that because it could be used to wipe out debts, but not if they result from willful or malicious injury caused by the debtor. Jones's lies, they say in Reuters, appear to meet that standard, said Susan Block-Lieb, a professor of bankruptcy law at Fordham University School of Law. So this was an attempt to try and potentially get out of paying for this, but it's not going to work. It wasn't going to work, and so they've been haggling ever since, and it seemed clear as to why they're haggling. They say, well, instead of $1.5 billion, you can pay $85 million, $8.5 million per year over the course of 10 years. And there'd been numerous looks into his finances during the whole trial that found that he probably wouldn't actually be able to pay that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to pay that. So they put a meme number out first, and then they go, don't worry, we'll be more reasonable. Here's a slightly less big meme number that you also aren't able to pay. So what's the alternative? He can't pay, he can't file for bankruptcy properly to get out of all this, although bankruptcy is still something that he and I think it's what's the name of it? Free Speech Technology or Free Speech Solutions, the name of the company, the parent company that owns InfoWars. Mm-hmm. Both Alex Jones personally and that company are both filing for bankruptcy at the moment, and they're going through litigation on how to sort all of that out. But what's the alternative? Well, if you can't, you can reorganize. Free Speech Systems is the name of it. They say the offer was made in Jones's personal bankruptcy case in Houston. In a legal filing, lawyers for the family said that they believed the proposal was a viable way to help resolve the bankruptcy reorganization cases of both Jones and his company, Free Speech Systems. Now, how would you imagine the reorganization is going to look?
It's going to be gutted. They're going to destroy it, aren't they?
Yes, that's seemingly what they're aiming for, is they go, here's this unreasonable number, here's this other unreasonable number. Oh, can't pay up? Well, we're going to have to take all of your assets from you. That includes your company, and we get to do whatever we want with it.
And people say the government isn't a mafia, eh?
Yes. So in a new bankruptcy plan, Free Speech Systems said it could afford to pay creditors about $4 million per year, down from an earlier estimate of $7 million to $10 million annually. The company said it expected to make about $19.2 million next year from selling dietary supplements, clothing, and other merchandising that Jones promotes on his shows, while operating expenses, including salaries, would total about $14.3 million. Because despite being such a heavily censored platform, InfoWars does good business, by the sounds of it, mainly from all of those dietary supplements. If you go on the website, it's actually quite a professional-looking website. His whole setup's very professional. So yeah, he makes good money from it, but not good enough money to really be able to expend that. And after this, after you're offered meme offers where it's just turning around to basically say, through various mechanisms, we'll have to take your company, you get other media smears going on, which is a documentary, an HBO documentary being made about the situation, called, I think it's The Truth versus Alex Jones, made by Leaving Neverland. That was the Michael Jackson 2019 smear documentary by Dan Reed, who spent 4 years following the circus created by Alex Jones after he claimed blah, blah, blah. So you know that if HBO are making a documentary about something, that's going to be perfectly neutral and not swing to one side, not smear, not spin the whole situation in one direction, tries to smear him the whole way through as being somebody who's willfully lying, willfully distorting the truth purely so that he can sell his supplements. There might be some truth to that, but I'm not going to trust this guy in HBO to tell me the truth about the situation.
Yeah, we do also know that HBO have told their fair share of lies in their history, to say the least.
Yeah, they certainly have. So what happens next? Well, the judge ordered liquidation of conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' personal assets. So this was a federal judge in Texas, and this is last month, June 2024, ordered the liquidation of the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' personal assets and was still deciding on his company's separate bankruptcy case. The decision could determine the future of his right-wing and conspiracy theory-laden InfoWars media platform, as he owes still $1.5 billion. So the case for his bankruptcy, from what I read in other articles, said that it was dismissed by the federal courts, so it's gone to the state courts instead, who are still after the money, and they're still going to have to seize his assets. And one of the ways that they're going to seize his assets is they're trying to seize his social media accounts.
That's a bit weird, isn't it? The
Sandy Hook families, read their lawyers, want his social media accounts. I mean, I think Raw Egg Nationalist has it put very well here, which is it's not about justice for the Sandy Hook families, the same way that the government puppeteers the bodies of dead children to try and push gun control legislation. The government and the lawyers have been puppeteering the Sandy Hook families since then, and they might have been going along with it willfully because they can make money from it. I don't blame them if they can make a huge payday from it, to be honest. But they've been puppeteering them to try and ruin Alex Jones and seize his company. Whatever you think of Alex Jones's company, InfoWars, whatever you think of his persona, whatever you think of the honesty or accuracy of what he reports, that's seemingly to me what it's coming across as.
No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, and now it's confirmed that the trustee plans are attempting to shut InfoWars down. A court-appointed bankruptcy trustee has indicated plans to sell off right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' InfoWars media empire to pay some of, so we'll still be on the hook for some of it, the $1.5 billion he owes. In a court filing filed on Sunday, the trustee, Christopher Murray, said he was planning to close operations of InfoWars owner Free Speech Systems and liquidate his inventory.
So this is the largest suit ever conducted against an American citizen, right? Isn't it? As far as I understand it.
I can only imagine so. A private citizen like Alex Jones, yes, this is an absurd amount of money. And the families are as well trying to collect the money as soon as possible, which is before the company has had chance to sell its assets to pay them. So that would potentially mean a smaller payday. And other courts have said that they've blocked that motion. But it's very strange that they would pursue an approach that means they get less money, but the company shuts down quicker.
Funny that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That is seemingly another politically motivated aspect of this whole case. And I don't want to be liable for anything. Of course, what happened to the families is a tragedy, and I can understand that after what happened to them, they would want to, at least get some money for it or something. But again, the political aspects of this entire case seems to be that there is a massive attempt to try and shut InfoWars down to the point where it's working. From reports that I've seen from Alex Jones's website and what is being reported in these articles as well, it seems that he says here, going to try and move forward and maximize the amount of money we can make at InfoWars to then have a wind down. So it may be a matter of months, it may be another year or two. It matters how long that this ends up getting dragged on, but it seems that InfoWars might end up shutting down because of all of this.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. And if you want to see more of what we're doing, you can check out our election night live stream talking all about the UK election. It was a behemoth 10 hours, and you can watch us slowly unravel. And if you want to see all of the other work we're doing, we post links to everything that we're releasing on our Twitter. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.